The elbow hit her face so hard, blood splattered across the mat. 18 recruits froze, Chief Mercer laughed, called it an accident. But here's the thing about hitting a Navy SEAL, and it's never just an accident. Lieutenant Commander Rhea Kincaid didn't yell, didn't retaliate. She just walked away. What Mercer didn't know, she'd already planned her response. 14 hours, every detail, every step. By sunrise, he'd be the one on the mat blindfolded, facing the woman he thought he'd broken. And by the end of the day, his career would be over. Before we show you exactly what happens when patience becomes a weapon, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story doesn't end with an apology. It ends with a lesson no one on that base will ever forget. The elbow hit her face so hard that blood splattered across the blue mat. 18 recruits froze. The instructor laughed. They called it an accident, the narrator would say. But here's the thing about hitting a Navy SEAL. It's never just an accident. Lieutenant Commander Rhea Kincaid didn't move at first. Her lips split, the metallic taste of blood filling her mouth. She blinked once, wiped it away with the back of her glove, and stood tall. Across from her, Chief Von Mercer grinned. "Shake it off, Commander," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Rhea just stared back, calm and silent. Mercer's laugh echoed through the gym. Behind him, a few recruits tried not to look. They'd all seen what happened, too deliberate, too fast to be a slip. Rhea turned, stepped off the mat, and walked toward the exit without a word. No anger, no retaliation, just purpose. Every footstep clicked sharp against the polished floor. That silence followed her down the hallway like a shadow. Mercer thought she was embarrassed. He had no idea what she was about to do. That night, the gym was empty. Rhea sat alone in the glow of her laptop, scrolling frame by frame through the security footage. His stance, his pivot, the wind-up before impact, every move was intentional. She zoomed in, watched the elbow connect again in slow motion. Then she opened a thick black binder on the table beside her RIP 4 instructor reflex standards, blindfolded contact training, mandatory instructor evaluation. Mercer had skipped it for 8 months. Her thumb traced the printed line, "Failure to comply results in immediate suspension." She smiled, not out of anger, but precision. Every rule he'd ignored was about to become her weapon. At midnight, the base was quiet. Outside, floodlights glowed over the training field. Inside, she tested her knee brace, flexing the rebuilt joint until it clicked into place. That knee was her weak spot, the reason she was still on probation. One wrong move, and command could declare her unfit for duty. Mercer knew that. That's why he'd pushed her. She glanced at the photo taped inside her locker. Her brother, Lieutenant Rhea Kincaid, smiling in uniform. He'd died 3 years ago during a training accident under another careless instructor. That was the day Rhea stopped believing in luck. Since then, she'd lived by one rule: evidence beats ego, and tonight, she finally had both. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lieutenant Colin Ward Mercer's friend in administration. Heard about the incident. You okay? She typed back fine, then deleted it. Instead, she wrote tomorrow. 0600. Repi for evaluation. Instructors first. She sent it to the entire training group. No explanation. No warning. Her heart rate never changed. The gym lights flickered once before shutting off automatically. She stayed seated for a moment, the faint hum of the laptop fan the only sound left. Her reflection looked back at her, focused, steady, calculating. Mercer had his politics. Ward had his protection. But Rhea had something none of them understood anymore: patience sharpened into precision. She closed the binder, slid it into her bag, and stood. The plan was clean, legal, documented, unstoppable. If Mercer wanted to prove his dominance on the mat, she'd let him by the book. As she walked out, the cold night air met her face, washing away the metallic scent of blood. Her jaw still throbbed, but it didn't matter. Pain was data. Control was the result. A single security light buzzed overhead. Rhea stopped beneath it, watching the glow ripple across the empty mats through the gym window. Tomorrow, Those same mats would hold something Mercer couldn't laugh off proof. She checked her watch. 5 hours until sunrise. Enough time to rest. Not enough to doubt. The base loudspeaker crackled somewhere in the distance, an automated system calling end-of-day routine. Rhea headed toward the barracks, her boots striking in perfect rhythm. Every sound in the corridor echoed like a countdown. Inside her quarters. She placed the binder on her desk and set the alarm for 0500. No speeches, no anger, no warning. Just procedure. She stretched once, flexing her knee again, feeling the joint lock steady. This time, it didn't hurt. It felt ready. Before turning off the light, she whispered quietly to the empty room, "Tomorrow, we finish what he started." And as the base slipped into darkness, Rhea Kincaid closed her eyes. Not to rest. To wait. At 0600, the gym lights flicked on one by one, humming in sequence like a countdown. The mats were spotless, corners taped with perfect lines. Rhea Kincaid stood in the center, black binder tucked under her arm. Waiting. Her knee brace clicked softly as she shifted her stance. Every detail from last night was locked in her mind. Mercer's pivot, his smirk, his arrogance. She knew exactly how this morning would unfold. The door opened. Chief Von Mercer swaggered in, coffee in hand, grinning like nothing had happened. Behind him came Petty Officer Luke Parrott and 18 recruits, boots squeaking across the polished floor. Mercer's voice carried before the door even shut. "Morning, Commander. Heard you took a nasty hit yesterday. Hope you're not here for round 2. A few nervous laughs followed. Rhea didn't look up from her clipboard. "Round 2, she said evenly. "No. Today's round 1. Her tone was quiet but final. Mercer blinked, his grin faltering. "What's that supposed to mean?" She finally met his eyes. "You're first on the mat, blindfolded." The room went still. Parrott stopped mid-step. Even the recruits froze, caught between curiosity and disbelief. Mercer laughed, but it came out forced. "You're joking." Rhea handed him a black strip of fabric. "Regulation 9B. Instructor reflex standards. Let's get compliant." One recruit whispered. "She's serious," another muttered. "This is gonna be good." Even Parrott hesitated, his gums suddenly losing flavor. Mercer handed his coffee off to Parrott. "Fine," he said, smirking. "Let's give the kids a show." He tied the blindfold around his head, too tight, like he needed to prove something. "Hands down," Rhea said. "React only to contact." Her voice didn't rise, but it cut through the air sharper than any command. Every pair of eyes followed her as she stepped closer. She touched his shoulder lightly, barely pressure. Mercer moved instantly, trying to grab her wrist. Wrong move. Rhea redirected his momentum, stepped into his balance line, and dropped him cleanly onto the mat. The thud echoed. A few recruits gasped. "Reset," she said. Mercer scrambled up, teeth clenched, pretending it hadn't hurt. "Lucky shot," he muttered. Rhea didn't answer. She just adjusted her stance. The second touch came faster. This time, Mercer tried to brace. She swept his base leg with a short pivot and let gravity do the rest. He hit harder this round. The recruits started whispering. Private Nora Quinn leaned toward the trainee beside her. "She's not fighting him," she said quietly. "She's teaching him." The difference was everything. Each move from Rhea was measured, controlled, zero emotion, zero hesitation. By the third round, Mercer's breathing grew uneven. Rhea tapped his collarbone. He exploded, breaking every rule she'd just recited. She slipped under his arm, turned, and redirected his own strength into a precise takedown. Mercer grunted as he landed flat. Air punched from his lungs. The gym stayed silent for 2 beats. Rhea stepped back, voice steady. Discipline is timing, not volume. That's when the door banged open. Lieutenant Colin Ward stormed in, baton in hand, expression caught between outrage and confusion. "What the hell is this standard evaluation?" Rhea said calmly. "Pre-cleared by your signature." Ward looked around, searching for support. "You're making a spectacle of this base." "No," she replied. "I'm running your safety protocol." Ward scoffed. "You think you can humiliate senior instructors and get away with it?" She tossed the foam baton toward him. "Underhand and easy." It hit his chest, bounced to the floor. "Then test it," she said. "Blindfold me." The recruit stopped breathing. Mercer sat up, sweat running down his neck. Ward hesitated, but pride wouldn't let him back down. "Fine," he snapped. "Have it your way." Rhea turned to Quinn. "Tie it." The young recruit stepped forward, hands steady as she wrapped the cloth over Rhea's eyes. The room went dead quiet. Ward lifted the baton, testing the weight. He circled once, the sound of his boots soft on the mat. Rhea waited. Posture relaxed, palms open. Then came the faint shift in air. A breath before motion. She moved first. Her hand caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted, redirected, baton sliding clean into her grip. In the same fluid motion, she pressed the padded tip gently against his throat. Not forceful, just exact. Ward froze. Behind him, Mercer's grin disappeared. Every recruit stared like they'd just seen a ghost. Rhea leaned forward, blindfold still on. "Protocol is a contract," she said quietly. "You signed for what comes next." Then she stepped back and released him. Ward stumbled, speechless. The baton clattered to the mat, rolling to Rhea's feet. And in that moment, the door at the far end opened again. Captain Elias Trenton walked in, arms folded, expression unreadable. He'd been there long enough to see everything. "Continue," he said simply. Rhea removed the blindfold and turned to face the stunned room. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the sound of her voice broke the silence. "Next, instructor," she said. "Let's begin." And for the first time that morning, not a single man laughed. The gym emptied fast after the final drill. No laughter, no chatter, only the echo of boots fading into silence. Captain Elias Trenton stayed by the door, arms folded. He'd seen every second the blindfold, the takedown, the precision. When the last recruit left, he said one word: "Office." Rhea Kincaid followed him down the hallway. Behind her came Chief Von Mercer, red-faced, jaw tight, and Lieutenant Colin Ward, who hadn't spoken since dropping the baton. The corridor lights buzzed as they walked in tense formation toward the command room. Inside, the air was cold and sharp. A single monitor played silent footage from the security cameras. Trenton pressed pause at the frame where Mercer's elbow met Rhea's face. "Start talking," he said. Ward opened his mouth first. "Sir, yesterday's contact." Trenton raised a hand. "I wasn't talking to you." Mercer swallowed hard. "Sir, it was a training demo. Things got too physical." Trenton leaned closer, voice low. "She called enough." "You didn't stop." The captain switched to a second-angle overhead footage from the corner camera. Slow motion revealed every detail: the deliberate step, the shoulder rotation, the full swing. Mercer's explanation collapsed before it began. Rhea sat quietly across the table, binder in her lap. Her expression didn't change. Trenton turned to Ward. "You signed the oversight forms, didn't you?" Ward hesitated. "Yes." "Sir, when was the last time either of these instructors completed a reflex evaluation?" Ward blinked. I'd have to check the record." Trenton clicked a key. A document appeared on screen: RIPI 4 compliance logs. Every name had a date beside it except Mercer's and Parrott's. The box next to them read, "Evaluation overdue. 8 months." "Already checked," Trenton said. His tone stayed calm, which made it worse. "You let this slide because you didn't want paperwork. That ends now." Mercer shifted in his seat. "Sir." With respect, Trenton cut him off. "Don't use that word when you've earned none." The silence afterward was heavy enough to crush the air. Ward tried to pivot. "Commander Kincaid went off script this morning." Trenton faced him. "She followed your script, Lieutenant. Word for word. The same protocol you ignored." Ward had no answer. Trenton looked to Rhea. "You recorded everything." She opened her binder, slid out a flash drive. Every second. Sir, multiple angles. Time-stamped. He nodded. Then this investigation just became very simple. The monitor flicked to new footage that morning's evaluation. Rhea blindfolded. Ward swinging the baton. The disarm. The room watched in silence as the baton hit the floor. Trenton paused the video. "Tell me," he said to Mercer. "Does that look like revenge to you?" Mercer's jaw flexed. "No, sir." The captain leaned back in his chair. "What I saw was discipline executed under provocation. Exactly what we expect from someone wearing the trident." He looked toward Ward again. "What I didn't see was leadership from you." Ward's voice cracked slightly. "Sir?" She manipulated this. Rhea spoke for the first time. No manipulation. Just compliance. Her voice was calm. Every word deliberate. Trenton stood. "Chief Mercer. Petty Officer Parrott, you're suspended pending review?" Mercer started to rise, but Trenton's glare pinned him in place. "You'll receive written notice by 1700. Until then, stay off my mats." He turned to Ward. "As for you, Lieutenant, expect an audit on all training protocols under your command." Ward nodded stiffly. "Understood." But the words sounded hollow. Trenton's gaze softened as he looked at Rhea. "Commander Kincaid, you've demonstrated restraint under pressure. I commend you for that." Rhea inclined her head slightly. "Thank you, sir." The captain paused at the door before leaving. "One more thing," he said. "Control isn't silence. Commander, it's action at the right second." Then he was gone. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Ward exhaled first, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "You set this up," he said quietly. Rhea closed the binder. "No, you did, when you signed that paper." He let out a bitter laugh. "You could have filed a report." She looked at him evenly. "Paperwork doesn't change culture. Consequences do." She stood, straightened her uniform, and walked out. Mercer sat frozen, eyes locked on the paused frame of his own mistake. Ward just stared after her, realizing too late that she'd won without raising her voice. Outside, sunlight poured through the high windows, spilling over the hallway floor. Recruits stood at attention as Rhea passed, none of them ordered to. Respect didn't need commands, it followed quietly behind her boots. She stopped at the gym door, glanced once at the mats, and exhaled. The fight was over. But the lesson wasn't. Tomorrow, the system would learn to stand where she'd drawn the line. The story spread before noon. By evening, chow. Every corridor on base was buzzing with whispers about the blindfold drill. Recruits traded stories like classified intel, each version slightly different. But the ending always the same. Commander Kincaid dropped them all. At the mess hall, Private Nora Quinn sat among a group of new trainees. She didn't even raise her voice. She said quietly, she just waited. And then everything changed. Across the room. Petty Officer Hayes nodded, eyes wide. "I've seen Mercer throw guys twice her size," he said. She dropped him blindfolded. "You can't fake that," another instructor muttered. "She made them look weak." Quinn shook her head. "No," she said. "She made them look loud." That line silenced the table. Near the entrance, Rhea walked past without a tray, her uniform pressed sharp, stride steady. The chatter softened as she moved through the hall. No one called after her, but heads turned in quiet acknowledgement. Outside, dusk settled over Ravenport Naval Training Center, the horizon washed in amber light. Rhea paused by the courtyard statue anonymous, no plaque, just a figure standing tall. She stared at it for a moment, then kept walking. Her office lights were still on. Stacks of evaluation reports filled the desk, every form marked in red ink. At the top sat a letter official suspension notices for Mercer and Parrott, signed by Captain Trenton himself. A second envelope rested beneath it. This one bore her name. Inside, temporary assignment reassignment pending review. She read it twice, then smiled faintly. It wasn't punishment. It was procedure. And for the first time in years, procedure was working. The door opened behind her. Ma'am Quinn stood in the frame, half nervous, half determined. I didn't mean to interrupt. Rhea motioned her in. You're fine. Private. What is it? Quinn stepped closer, hands clasped behind her back. I just wanted to thank you, she said, for this morning. Rhea tilted her head. You ran your drills well. That's not it. Quinn hesitated. I almost quit last month. Mercer said I wasn't built for this place. Rhea's expression softened, the faintest flicker of empathy. And you didn't quit? Quinn shook her head. Not after today. You showed us what strength looks like when it doesn't need to shout, for the first time all week. Rhea's smile reached her eyes. Then don't waste it, she said quietly. Be better than the noise. Quinn nodded once, saluted, and left. The door clicked shut, leaving only the hum of the fluorescent lights outside. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Mercer's name had already been removed from the training board. Ward's desk sat empty too, his audit had begun. Rhea turned back to the window. The reflection staring back at her didn't look like a victor. It looked like someone finally at peace with how she'd chosen to fight. 2 weeks later, a message arrived on her secure line. From Personnel Command HQ effective immediately, Chief Mercer reassigned to logistics. Parrott medically discharged. The final line read, Commander Kincaid commended for operational integrity. She closed the message, leaned back, and exhaled. The base outside was quiet again. No noise, no rumors, just rhythm and order returning. Her phone buzzed once more. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Commander Kincaid, said a deep voice. This is Admiral Brennan. Her pulse ticked once. Brennan, Mercer's old mentor, now stationed in Washington. I've reviewed your audit, he said. 23 instructors failed compliance. Half the East Coast training pipeline's been disrupted. Rhea straightened in her chair. With respect, sir, I followed protocol. I know, Brennan replied. That's why I'm promoting you. For a heartbeat. She didn't respond. Promoting me, sir. You're heading the new standards division. You exposed a broken system, now you're going to rebuild it. The call ended before she could reply. Rhea stared at the phone in her hand, the hum of realization slow and steady. She'd won the battle, but the war was still out there, waiting. Later that night, the gym stood empty again. Same mats, same quiet air. Rhea wrapped her hands and faced the bag. Her punches were steady, controlled, nothing furious, nothing wild. Each strike landed with the rhythm of a heartbeat. Discipline, not rage. Control, not pride. The bruise from Mercer's elbow had faded, but the memory hadn't. It lived beneath her skin like muscle memory. After the final punch, she stood still, breathing slow. For the first time, she didn't feel alone in the fight. The recruits were watching now, and they'd learned. The lights dimmed automatically, one by one. Rhea picked up her binder, tucked it under her arm, and walked out. The door swung shut behind her with a soft metallic click. Outside, the night air was cool, the ocean wind rolling in from the east. She glanced once at the horizon and whispered, Let's begin again. Because control wasn't the end of the story. It was only the start of something bigger. And tomorrow, someone else would learn what discipline really looked like. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.